We should be live. I know we are a couple minutes early, but I know people start joining the link a few minutes early usually. So I wanted to launch the stream so as people are coming in, they can say hello in the chat, and I will cover the format and how to join this stream if you want to come on and talk with audio and or your camera on. You can have camera off if you just want to talk with audio. I'll cover that in a few minutes as well, kind of as more people roll in. But as you're joining, again, I know we're a few minutes early, so can't actually see if anyone's here yet on the LinkedIn stream. Feel free to say hello in the chat. I'm going to do that myself. Actually, let me also make sure that I am streaming in all the right places. Oops, might have heard an echo. I'm going to say hello. And we'll probably get quite a few more people here in a couple minutes. And pull up some slides. And we are reading, or well, we should have read, or I read, AI Engineering by Chip. And this is what we're going to be discussing today. And again, I'll talk more about the format in a little bit. But this isn't a giant presentation. It's supposed to be more of a casual conversation. A lot of people use the chat to ask questions or have input on the book. So I'll bring up all the chapters and we can discuss the things that we're talking about in the chapters here. Wednesday said, hello, Sage. Hello. Welcome, welcome. Again, we're a couple minutes or a minute early. So I know we're going to get more people here in a minute. But I want to start the stream because I know also if you go to LinkedIn stream, and that's where I point most people to, if you go there and it hasn't started yet, I feel like it's kind of weird to join and refresh it later. So I wanted to get it started for everyone. A couple minutes early. Did you read the book? And if so, did you have any favorite chapters or anything? It's also okay to discuss if you haven't read the book, by the way. So I know quite a few people have joined in and maybe they haven't read the book or they've read part of it. It's totally fine to join in the discussion, have inputs, have questions, even if you did not read the book. One of my favorite things about having this is it forces me to read the book. So even if you don't get through all of it, it's a good kind of motivator to have some accountability, I guess, of finishing some of the book, if not all of it. And all right, now we're at 1. So we'll probably see quite a few more people joining in. As you're joining in, say hello in the chat. And let me know maybe where you're watching from or streaming from. And also, totally encourage if people haven't read the book yet to read it. I'll share a link. This is to the O'Reilly platform, or I think it links to where to buy it in a whole bunch of different ways or areas. I often read it online right now through the O'Reilly platform, which has like all the books and it's a subscription thing. But you should be able to get this book pretty much anywhere. I think Amazon, etc., all has this as well. I see more people joining in. I'm gonna pull up a meetup real quick, make sure there's no other questions of people joining or having trouble or something like that. And yeah, so people who are joined, I see more people in the chat. If you want to say hello, also maybe a little bit about what you liked about the book. And again, I'll mention you can come on stream here too. So if you actually want to join with audio or video, let me know, and I can actually send you a link to join on here. Let me go ahead though, and I'll kind of do an intro and see again if anyone wants to come on stream. Also, otherwise, there's the chat, and we kind of changed the format recently. I'll talk about that in a second. But a lot of people have kind of enjoyed this new format where a lot of the interaction happens in the chat. That's awesome. I feel like it's, I don't know, a little bit of a lower barrier. You don't have to turn on your audio or camera or anything like that. So again, feel free to keep the discussion in the chat, and I can try to call out very significant points or questions that people have. and we can kind of keep the discussion there if you want as well. So again, this month we are reading AI Engineering. And again, I shared a link, but you should be able to find this anywhere if you want to read it, or hopefully you already have read it. And just kind of a quick intro to the AI Book Club. In short, we read a new book every month and discuss online. Most of the discussion happens right now during these kind of live events. But we do have a Slack channel. If you want to join, I wanted to post more in here this month, but I was actually traveling and was at NVIDIA GDC for a lot of this event. So I did a lot of reading on like an airplane, and I didn't take as many notes this time. I didn't discuss in Slack as much, but I do want to kind of hopefully get more discussion going as we're reading books in the Slack channel, asynchronous. If people have interesting things they want to show and share in there, that's kind of cool. Also, there's a GitHub. This just kind of has all the links in previous books that we've read. But wherever you found this on Meetup or LinkedIn, you can keep up to date with all the other ones coming in too. Cool. I see Josh said hello from San Francisco. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, Josh. And Jacob said hi from Seattle. I'm also in Seattle. If anyone didn't know, that's where I'm streaming from. And they said they're only on chapter 3 right now, but seems promising so far. The author includes a ton of interesting links. Yeah, there are a ton of links. Actually, that's one thing. If I wasn't reading this digitally, I would find it hard, I think, to go to all the links. So it is cool. They link a lot to papers and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. Someone said they love the breadth of the book, especially the prompt engineering and fine tuning. Awesome. Someone said this book was sold out at GDC store. I didn't even see there was a store there, but that totally makes sense. I actually think Chip was at GDC. I didn't talk with her, but I think she might have been there. I'm actually not sure. I thought she might have been, but maybe I'm thinking of a different book author actually came to mind. All right, so schedule so far for 2025. So I know some of you have been here since last year, where we were doing the whole book club, and we read a book every single month last year. I'm hoping we're going to do the same thing for this year. And again, I think it's just having this event and someone to chat to and stuff is just fantastic for accountability and making you read. It definitely does for me. I've never read more technical books, I think, in my life than doing this book club. So the schedule so far is in January. We read Building LMs for Production. I really, really like this book. If you're new here and you didn't read this one, I'd recommend checking it out. I actually think it's really good complementary book to AI engineering. So the AI engineering book, the book we'll be discussing today, talks a lot about the concepts and goes really into depth into a lot of things, but doesn't really show a lot of code. It's less hands-on and a little bit more theoretical. And it's a great book for that. But I would maybe want to pair it with something that's a little more hands-on. I thought the Building LMs for Production did a really good job of introducing you to all the concepts, but also showing examples how to start implementing them yourself. And in February, we read RAG-driven development or RAG-driven generative AI that had a whole bunch of different types of RAG examples. That was kind of fun to see. I'm very excited for April. We are going to be reading AI Agents in Action. I actually had to kind of hold myself back from getting started on this and reading the AI engineering book this month because I'm really excited about the AI Agents in Action. Oh, and I see Sige is joining. If you've been here before, you'll recognize Sige. Welcome, Sige.
Yeah, hi, Sage. So you sent me 2 links.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, I'd clicked on the first one and I'd been waiting, but then I saw the other one. But yeah, good to be here.
I'll have to double check. Was that for the next AI book club meeting, or did I send you the wrong?
It's possible.
I'll figure out where I made the error.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I see now. The other one says 29th of April. Yeah, my bad.
That's going to be the AI Agents in Action meeting.
I must be super excited for agents. Maybe that's
yeah.
why.
I know. I'm very excited, and I think also to coincide with this one, I'm going to be going through. I started the module 1 of the Agents course from Hugging Face. Already finished that, but I'm going to go through module 2, I think, this month as well, while reading this book. So I think that'll be really fun. If people haven't checked out the AI Agents course from Hugging Face, you should. It's it looks like a really good course, and actually, module 2 goes into a lot of hands-on implementation. And then for May, we're going to do a little bit of a break from large language models. We're going to read, there actually might be LMs in there too, but it's not all about LMs. It's going to be hands-on APIs for AI and data science. This looks cool. for getting more into the deployment piece. So actually, I think it's going to relate to if you want to deploy LLMs or other types of AI models, but talk about building API with like fast API. How would you get that in production? That's pretty cool. And then I was thinking for June of maybe doing the 100-page language model book. I haven't made the event yet, so I'm happy to change this if other people have ideas. Part of the reason too is I think I'm going to go on vacation in June, late June. So I might do the event like a week early, and this book is kind of short, so we could probably read it in those couple weeks. And then there's a whole bunch of books that always look really exciting. So as always, let me know what we should read next. There's a whole bunch to choose from. These 3 I really want to read. They're not out yet, and I hesitate to actually make the event until they're out because I know books can get delayed. But Deep Learning for Biology sounds fun, LM Ops, and then building applications with AI agents. And then these other ones are out. So if you have a book in mind, let me know in the chat right now, actually, if there's a book you have in mind that you want to read next. That would be cool. And someone said they just got this book and they'll be the translator. You're going to be the translator of the Chinese version. That's awesome.
I vote right away for the reinforcement learning for finance and the building applications with AI agents.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. I think the building applications with AI agents says it's not going to be out till August. So I think that was the date. So this will be a later in the year book, I think, for sure. Also, the early release ones, you can access what's currently out in the O'Reilly platform, but I do want to make sure, I guess, other people could read it in other areas. So I'll probably wait for them to come out. But the reinforcement learning for finance is out. And then also skimming LMs in production, that actually looked pretty good. And I think you do build an agent in there as well. So maybe we'll put those 2 in the slots. A quick note, this is like the 3rd time saying this, so maybe I won't say this for the next time, but if you've come here before, we are doing the LinkedIn live audio spaces. Those are gone. So we're doing this kind of streaming thing, and you can come in. I have to send you an invite link. So if you do want to join, message me on LinkedIn, or if I see you really active in the chat, maybe I will just message you on LinkedIn and send you an invite link, and then you can kind of come in to this stream, and you don't have to turn your camera on if you just want to do audio interactions. But the new format is really exciting. We've had way more people kind of interact and engage in general, often in the chat. So it's a lower barrier for people to discuss in the live chat like people are already doing. Please keep doing that. And then also there's recordings. If you want to come back and watch the recording, this new format allows that. But we can make changes how we run this. So most people, I think last time said they really like this format. But again, let me know in the discussion if there's anything you want to change. And with that, kind of the chapter recap for, I did not change the header up here. This is from, I obviously copied last month's slides, but this is the chapter recap for AI engineering. Before I read all the chapters, Sidge, did you poke around at the book at all this month?
Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed the chapter 6, RAG and Agents, chapter 4, evaluating AI systems. And I think the datasets one, the one about datasets, it was really cool.
Oh yeah, the chapter 80 is the one I feel like I didn't really get to read. I think I read all the other chapters. Like I mentioned, I was traveling at GDC, and I think that was the chapter that slipped through me reading while I was traveling. And Wenzi, or I might be mispronouncing your name, but were you at GDC? Because it says like it sounds like you were, because you said the book was sold out at the GDC store. And GDC is NVIDIA's big conference where there's a ton of AI stuff going on. It was pretty fun. And if anyone read the book, let me know what chapter or favorite chapters you had. I'll read them off real quickly too. So chapter 1 was Introduction to Building AI Applications with Foundation Models. I think that kind of talked about the rise of LMs and kind of all the changes happening right now. And then understanding foundation models, diving deeper into how they work. And I think that chapter went into things like tokenization and, again, kind of how LMs work, or maybe that was chapter 1, I forget. And then we had evaluation methodology. I thought this is pretty interesting too. And from my remembering this chapter, there's different metrics and stuff, but they're really leaning into LM as a judge. Seems like one of the best evaluation strategies and this kind of coincides with other people I've talked with in the industry working in the evaluation space. I just did a fireside chat a few weeks ago with some of the people at Arise, which is a big ML monitoring company, probably doing the most cutting edge stuff that I've seen in the space. And I think they're kind of saying the same thing. Like LM as a judge is one of the best ways of evaluating it, but that also comes with other problems. Like, how do you evaluate that as an evaluator? It's like, who's watching the watchman kind of thing, but for LMs. And then chapter 4 was evaluate AI systems. This talked about not just evaluating like responses, but I think the systems as a whole and their applications. Prompt engineering, RAG and agents. I thought that chapter was cool too, and went into pretty detailed ways to think about like planning for agents and stuff, which was nice. Fine tuning. And then chapter 8 was Dataset Engineering, and chapter 9 was Inference Optimization, and chapter 10 was AI Engineering, Architecture, and User Feedback. And curious for anyone in the chat, again, if you want to join in, actually, maybe I'll message a couple people if they want to join the stream. But also let us know in the chat, what topics did you find the most interesting? I'm going to send a link to someone. And Sidge, I don't know if you have any other thoughts off the top of your head for anything that we read.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did something sort of related to not LLM as a judge, but a model as a judge recently. So I worked on a project. It was a computer vision project though, which is also predicting certain. So it's like a taxonomy classification, right? You get an item and you predict certain like characteristics of the item. So I developed a new method of doing that. Um, so to compare both, like the output from both models, I would like get out the predictions and then send them to like a multimodal model to look at both predictions and then judge which is better based on certain criteria. So yeah, that was cool.
That does sound cool. What was the project for?
So it's like so fashion items. So you get an image of an item and then uh, predict certain characteristics of it, right? What occasion is meant for, what colors it has, what patterns or materials, or what kind of item it is. So it has like this so it's like a multi-class and a label predictions combined. But the reason why it was important to use, so yeah, I guess I should have. So the reason why they could not be directly compared was because the format of the outputs were different. The way their predictions sort of structured were like largely different from each other, so they couldn't be directly compared with a standard metric like accuracy or like whatever. So one could be predicting. So they could both be predicting the same things, but have different labels. So one could maybe have like dark blue as a label, for example, while the other only has blue, for example. So yeah.
Cool. And I shared a link with Rebecca, who wanted to join the stream, I think. You can follow that link if you want to come on. And also, if you want to join and not turn on camera, you're more than welcome to keep your camera off if you just want to do audio as well. Oh, yeah. And someone else asked for that too. Give me a second. I'll send you a link. Someone said in the chat their favorite chapter was 9, which was the inference optimization. And they didn't realize how involved to generate new tokens one after the other was. That's what was that?
Yeah, the inference optimization was cool. I think that was my first time I'd come across speculative decoding in the past, but I really liked like the explanation in this book. It really helped.
Yeah. I thought it was really cool. And that is, I'm excited to dive more into implement some of the optimization type of techniques too on. Hello, hello.
Hello. Oh yeah.
I think we're back.
Yeah, we're back.
Hopefully we're still live. I'm gonna go check the stream, but that's the first time I've had StreamYard kind of crash on me, which is what I'm using. I think I had this happen once like 2 years ago, so hopefully that's not going to be a regular occurrence.
I checked the live stream. It seems there's a lag on my end anyway. So it's still like we're currently still talking about
Oh, right.
inference
Yeah.
optimization.
Yeah, there's often like a 30-second lag or something like that from a lot of streaming services. So that's true. They're probably just seeing it crash now. I'm gonna refresh. Yeah, hopefully people are back. I'm gonna pull it up and again make sure that we're still going. I don't think it was internet issue or anything on anyone's end either. I think it's just literally StreamYard crashed somehow. Again, I've had it happen like once before. And I had sent a couple people an invite link who asked for one. There was one other person. I'm trying to find you in the chat. I hit request. So if you or connect, so if you hit accept it, I should be able to message you as well. But sorry, what were you saying about optimization? Sorry for they need to optimize this maybe.
Yeah, no, I was talking about the speculative decoding. I like the explanation in the book. Oh, it's happened again. It happened again.
It kind of sucks for our event here though, but hopefully this is going to be a one-time thing. I've used StreamYard so much in the past with never any issues. It's only when Stitch starts talking about optimization though.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't like speculative decoding. I guess I won't mention it again. This will be the last time I'll mention speculative decoding.
It's literally after you say that word. That's when it's crashed both times. Which is kind of a weird coincidence.
Oh, why?
That is so funny. I'm going to try sharing again. That is hilarious, though.
Yeah, let's move on from optimization.
And if anyone does have any other streaming programs they like, let me know. I've used StreamYard a lot, though, and I haven't had a lot of issues with it. Though they, I think they recently-ish were acquired by some other company. So I'm not sure, if that has something to do with it. Or could be that my internet's being weird or something, but I didn't see any issues earlier, but who knows? But it shouldn't crash for everyone if it was just my internet. So it seems like a StreamYard thing. Yeah. All right, let me refresh again. Potentially, I don't know if one of the people that I sent it to join the stream, maybe it's like when they tried to join and it crashes too. That could be it. I've done streams with quite a few people and we never had the issue, but who knows? Maybe you put a crazy character into your name or role and it and it crashes it. But yeah, I think I was saying too, I'm excited to try to implement some optimization strategies into projects and get more on the serving side. And there's so many cool tools and containers and stuff out now. Like I haven't messed a ton with like VLM for deployment and all these different containers that help with the inference optimization, which is really cool. And one of the things that at GDC NVIDIA announced this year too was Dynamo, which I need to dive deeper into it to actually be able to actually really talk about it. But I know it's basically under the hood for part of it is also deployment and inference optimization. And they've forked some cool stuff from other open source libraries too, like BentoML. And I'm excited to play around with that, hopefully, and make like a little application with it, or try it out for deploying.
Oh, nice. I don't know much about Dynamo, but I'm Googling it now.
That's what I was like. I don't know enough to fully talk about it, but it was one of their big announcements, and one of the things that actually seemed like I could start directly playing with, that wasn't new chip or hardware type thing that costs a lot of money.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I will read more on this later as well.
And they have cool containers and stuff too that I've poked around a little bit for optimization, like NIM, and I think Dynamo is something that can run inside like a NIM container. And cool. Jacob said, "Oh, sorry. Go ahead."
No, I was just gonna ask, other than the optimization part, what was your favorite chapter in the book?
Oh yeah, I think my favorite chapters was the evaluation piece. I thought that was fun, and something I try to think about, I guess, all the time. And having previously worked at in the evaluation space, I still think that's super interesting and something that most people should think about earlier on in their projects. Maybe not a toy project, but if you're actually implementing something for like a company. And then I liked that they had the other one too that was like the kind of evaluate AI systems as a whole. And then I liked the agents part of the RAG and agents too, or so like that chapter. And then I thought the inference optimization chapter was pretty cool too. And I don't think I read the dataset chapter. So actually, what was the cool things that popped out to you in those chapters, or in chapter 8, if you remember?
Yeah, I mean, there was like a sort of throwback to the Andrew Ng, I think 2021, when he had the whole data-centric AI, where like most people only work on improving the model, right? But then he had like a competition then, I believe, where it was to solve a problem, but then it was to optimize the data set instead of optimizing the model. So yeah, just the general talk of the data quality, data annotation. That was cool. Generating synthetic data as well to make up for data coverage when you don't have enough data to cover all the different. But yeah, it was just it feels like not a lot of attention is given to data in a lot of textbooks.
Yeah, it's almost like we're swinging back a little bit that way, because I feel like, I think like you were saying, and Andrew kind of coined the phrase data-centric AI, and that was really, really big for the last few years, which made sense because there's great models that did stuff for like computer vision, NLP, and then you needed good data to train those models and make them work for your case. Now we have foundation models, and people are just kind of using those for all the use cases. And I wonder, we'll probably start seeing this maybe swing back in a way. Not that it isn't already, but even more potentially. And welcome, Rebecca.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you as well.
Yeah. I would like to provide a comment that's like interesting, that to link the data, training, data processing, and evaluation, is that sometimes you can use the same model to see the distribution of the quality from the training data set versus the testing data set. So something like, those kind of like fairness, like AI ethical evaluation, you can just compare the distribution from your training data. And then a lot of times, like some classifiers and models can be used exactly the same for filtering on the training data sets and doing the same examination for the testing.
Very cool.
Sorry, was that your favorite chapter in the book as well?
I didn't get the chance to look through the detail, but I found the part for the optimization side is interesting, because really just in the real applications in a lot of products that quantization and model distillation is very, very widely used, and especially in the kind of like a lot of more high-end application cases, we care about not only the quality but also the speed or the memory of or the size of the model, etc. And one interesting thing, maybe I didn't read the detail, but like sometimes
I think I can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear it right now? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. One interesting experiment that I have done before, where some observation I found is that sometimes model distillation not necessarily like have caused the model quality degradation. Sometimes it actually improve the model quality. It's probably just means like the domain that is going to learn the distribution of the data is actually aligned more with like what we're actually expected.
I mean, that is interesting. So you're saying sometimes after model distillation, the model performs even better than the teacher model.
Exactly. That is like probably not like to the common sense. A lot of people saying that okay, like quantization and those distillation is always cause the model perform worse because it's have to sacrifice or take the trade-off of the the model size and speed, etc. But actually there are some of the cases, I'm not saying all of the cases, but some of the cases like is the performance actually increase.
That's wild. That is literally the student becoming the master. Is there like an explanation for why that happens?
It's not like specific to one like regions or one specific topic, but you can imagine like if you are teaching a student on specific topic, so they might be expert in that specific topic, but they might be not good at other type of topics. So if you like really distilled on specific data set and very close to your actual production, and then it could be happen that's the performance actually getting better.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's interesting. I see something like that online as well now. It says the student model can often generalize better and capture nuanced understandings from the teacher.
Yeah, and also amazing thing is that like the student model doesn't have to be the exact architecture with the teacher model. It sometimes can be much slimmer and use less parameters, etc.
Is there a good paper that comes up to read for that?
It's cool. From the industrial experience. I didn't.
Oh yeah. Well, even better. That's even better than a paper.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's food for thought.
And welcome up. I'll probably would probably mispronounce your name. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself.
Oh, are you talking about me?
Yeah.
Okay. So my name is Chip Huyen. So I'm actually pretty new to the entire LLM. So other than as an LLM engineer, so I a few months ago I decided to actually make a pretty significant change from a traditional software engineering background to machine learning and AI. So the first book, before I found this book club meetup, the first book I actually read was Building LM from Scratch. I saw one of the audience also are reading that, and that was a fantastic book. Basically, give you basically turn you from a user of LM to kind of a developer. Give you the hands-on experience of that, but it also left a lot of questions on why. So you present this how doing this, for example, like one of the thing I learned from that book was instruction fine tuning. I also had this question. I asked multiple people. So when I was a user, most people know that LM, the transformer based LM, is basically you feed it a very large amount of data, and then it's getting good at predicting next token. But when I ask them a question, why it answers your question instead of adding a more token to your question, right? So this is always a question, and that book also answered that as the first step. And I think this book filled many questions I had. The breadth of this book is just amazing. I got a lot of a lot of information from the fine tuning chapter and also the prompt engineering. I was trying to find a lot of prompt engineering resources, but a lot of resources are basically a user oriented, not a engineering oriented. And this is the first book I found is engineering oriented. So that's why I found it's very, very, very valuable.
Amazing. That is awesome. Also, to quickly note on, you talked about like using an LM that isn't instruction fine tuned to answer questions. The other day, I was trying to like serve a model from Hugging Face, and I accidentally got the non-instruction fine tuned, just the foundation. And I was like, why is it answering questions like this? So if you haven't played, or if anyone hasn't played around with a non-instruction fine tune, I totally recommend it because it'll make you really, really appreciate instruction fine tune models. Sorry, what was your favorite chapters again for this one?
My favorite chapter was the chapter 5 prompt engineering and the 7 fine tuning.
Awesome. And someone said in the comments that Anthropic has a really good prompt engineering guide that might be worth checking out. I haven't checked it out, but they usually have really good educational content. I'm sure that is worth checking out.
I spent about 2 weeks to read this book, but all the chapters, but I have not got a chance to dig into all the most of the resources, the links. I did a few of them. I found them very, very interesting, very valuable. But I guess I will need to spend more time on these resources as well.
I think there's. I think I heard Chip mention in an interview that there's over 1,000 links in this book. So I don't think it's expected that you go read every single resource as you go through the book per se. But they all did seem really good. I know I opened up a whole bunch like while reading through, and I need to go back and read a lot of the papers and stuff that she linked to as well. Someone had some follow-ups, I think, on the distillation piece too. That Rebecca sounds like the expert in. Someone asked, maybe distillation reduces overfitting if you compress the model, you get a closer to average. And then someone also said, is there a way to do targeted distillation, i.e. the student will only learn certain subject topics?
I think if its like purpose is to only learn the specific topics, then it's more like a domain related shifting. Maybe like RAG or like feature-based fine-tuning would do a better job, because still the purpose for model distillation is to just get a slimmer version of the original model.
That makes sense. So you probably do fine-tuning just from, you could do, I don't know if it's called distilled fine-tuning, but kind of the training or fine-tuning that I've seen happen with some of the small models where they get knowledge from, like maybe you take knowledge from a larger model by just querying that, and that's your training data set, but then you're fine-tuning a model on it.
Yeah. There's like, it's just like the two different concepts.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
The distillation here is to get a smaller model with hopefully the same or better performance, is what it sounds like in some cases.
Yeah. I actually have a quite follow-up question to Xiaotian about like the instruction training part, because I'm actually from the multimodal field, like, image and video field, not quite the language fields. And how does the instruction fine-tuning work? It is something like it have to, like the training data set have to be parsed to specific structure?
From what I learned from building building M from scratch and this book is that you basically take a foundation pre-trained model and you find an instruction data set. Basically, the data set, I think the book also, this book, the book we are reading, the AI engineering, Chip also mentioned at least 2 instruction data set. Basically, it contains very high quality, the prompt, then the good answer. And you basically fit this into a pre-trained model. So it turned into, I don't remember. So in the I remember the building LM from scratch. The model, you basically freeze most of the parameter layers, and I think you probably leave some parameter layers open for this training. But I think the key is you have a very good quality instruction data set.
What's the difference? Separates like difference of the instruction data sets versus like the normal data set. Is this more structured? It's always have to be like, okay, these content some descriptions and then an instruction, blah blah blah, or it's more just like the quality. I just want to know, like, what is the definition for like a quality difference of the instruction data sets versus like the general data set?
So I probably not the best person to answer this.
No worries. Yeah.
I can help with that. Yeah. So so there's actually an interesting further conversation there, but on like a base level, the pre-training data set is just text. So just imagine you just scrape text from Wikipedia or a news article. It's just a bunch of text about a certain topic, and you're just predicting the next token, right? So that's the pre-training.
Yeah.
But for the instruction fine-tune, yes, it's just like you said, it has to be structured in a specific way. So it has to be in a question and answer format.
Oh,
So
I see.
who is the president of the United States? The president is Dan, and so yeah. So then you're giving it the prompt and then the response. Now, what is now interesting about that actually, which is something I liked that they mentioned in this book. There was a paper, I don't remember the name, but I remember I shared it on the Slack channel sometime last year, where some guys found that if you create the same instruction fine-tuned format from the pre-training data and then you pre-train the model on that, that sort of changes the like what is expected from the scaling laws and all of that. The model learns better if even the pre-training is in an instruction format. And in this book, they mentioned that if it's in a chain of thoughts, like I think that was where they said, if you break up the data sets in the format of explaining the thought process rather than just giving the mathematical answer, then the model learns better from that as well. Which brings me to another further topic, which was I think this book would have been so much more enjoyable, like even more than it was if it was written after all of this reasoning stuff, after the O1 and the deep sea, because it could have sort of played into so many things they discussed. But
yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, I completely understand. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Like if it simply just not the change of content, but just change the format, just make it like more structured, and it will just change the thought process of how the model will learn the training data set.
I have a question for more experienced engineers in this discussion, which is how practical is it for, let's say you are now working for a company or any company with a budget to train LM. If you only have, let's say, a relatively new, let's say, MacBook Pro, how practical is it for you to actually engage in practicing some fine-tuning exercises? So the only thing I did in this space was the building IM from scratch. There was one chapter, basically you follow the book. It actually loads some basically pre-uploaded GPT-2 parameters. Then you freeze some parameter layers. Then you feed some very small, very small amount of data. The author basically just want to show you the process instead of give you the result. Even that, I feel it was if you want to feed any reasonable amount of data, it will take a very long time. So I'm just wondering how people, engineers do this if you don't have a company behind you with a pretty large budget to give you, let's say, 50 or 100 GPUs to do this sort of thing.
I actually wondering if the method that Xiaotian mentioned is using LoRa.
No, it wasn't. It was not. It was Actually, I don't remember. I think it was a very simple. It only run like the parameter it fitted. It was very limited. Sorry, the training data is more like a few of them just to give you a taste of what this look like. Not really give you like you define loss function and to see this thing are improving. It's not really. It improved a little bit, but it was a very minor because of the cost of it.
Then that would be something. Dream Boost is just like fine tuning on small data set, because it depends on the scalability of the data sets you have. Something like if it's only a few example, then you can just use few shot learning, Dream Boost, those type of method. And if it's like data sets you have slightly larger, and you would want to fine tune the data sets fine tune the model using LoRa. And there's also different way of LoRa, something like the QLoRa, those kind of stuff, and they are more efficient. So you don't like the parameters that you need to train, and the size of that is much smaller than storing on the original weight.
And Jacob just mentioned from the book that the appendix of how to build a large language model did use LoRa, but the instruction fine-tuning part of the main did not.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it was simple enough to or small enough to run on most laptops, because I think most people, we read the book as part of book club in December, and the people I know quite a few people said they really appreciated that they could actually just run all the code on their laptop too. They didn't need any crazy GPUs to train on. And I haven't tried QLoRa on my MacBook yet, or LoRa on my MacBook. I don't know if anyone else has. Let me know, because I have a GPU at home, not anything crazy, but like a 2080 that does okay for some of the fine tuning stuff that I've done with like LoRa. But I'd be curious like how an M2 or M3 or now the M4s kind of work with trying to fine tune an LLM. I don't know if anyone has played around with that here.
Nah, not at all. For whatever reason, I'm never. So I got a Windows with the 3080, and then I have the M4 Mac. But for whatever reason, I'm never tempted to train on my laptop. It just feels, especially since cloud, there's Vast.ai and the rest of them that are so cheap. It just feels like unnecessarily not treating my laptop well if I try to fine tune anything on it. But I guess I should, just to experiment. But even if I was going to do that, it would only ever be to really prototype, right? To get the code right, see that there are no errors. But I would always just go and rent a GPU or something.
And yeah, someone mentioned AWS. I think there's quite a few services. Actually, even the company I work for, you can go to union.ai, and there's a free sign up for like a serverless version that has some GPUs in the cluster, like L4s and A100s, and you get like $30 of cloud credit or something in there too. But I think there's a lot of stuff, or a lot of places that make it easier now to get access to GPUs and run fine-tuning workflows on them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and there, for anyone who wants to check out, I know someone's sharing like the GitHub link to the other book we were talking about, the Build a Large Language Model from Scratch, which is a great book, and people should check that out too.
Just before I forget as well, for Rebecca, I shared the link to although it's a multimodal data set, but it gives you an example of how the thing is structured, how the instruction fine-tuning is structured.
Is that the Lava model?
That's for Lava, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, very interesting. I have done some project with that. Yes.
Nice.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah.
But we haven't really spoken much about agents. I think that was, for me, that was the chapter I really enjoyed the most. That was cool. I like how they started with RAG, right? Like a like a preface before getting to the meaty part.
Yeah, I felt like it was like, here's a little bit about RAG. Now agents.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this I tried something new this time too, where I put some summary in a slide in case we wanted a refresher too. And the summary is actually in the O'Reilly platform. You can ask it to like summarize a chapter. And so this was talked about RAG, agents, and memory, and it talked about how RAG systems work, the different components of a RAG system, including the retriever and generator, how to evaluate quality of RAG systems, including metrics like context precision and context recall, the basics of agents, including their environment, actions, and tool inventory, and how they should be used to accomplish tasks, and how planning and reflection are used in agents to achieve tasks and avoid failures, the importance of memory in AI models, and how it can be used to improve their performance. Also, would love to ask anyone listening, if you've been messing around with any agents or building agents, do you have a favorite framework so far or anything else that you're using to build them?
I've used Crew AI. It's been cool. It's been, yeah. I played around with going up on Reddit and finding conversations and then trying to respond to them. But it was just playing around. It was just messing around sort of thing. Just trying to speed up that future where most of the conversation on the internet is AI generated. Doing my part.
That you're doing your part to make sure the dead internet theory, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one is one I hear about maybe the most. I haven't played around with it yet. It's on my short list to go do very soon. In fact, I'm hoping it's in the next book, because if you weren't here at the beginning, for anyone, we're reading AI Agents in Action, which is another book for the next month. So I'm excited to dive into that. I don't know what frameworks it's used. I didn't read that far into the book, but Crew AI is up there. I know there's also a lot of really good looking Crew AI courses on the deeplearning.ai site for free. They're like short courses, an hour or 2 hours long, for free, that you can take. And then the other ones that I keep seeing come up and that I know are part of the Hugging Face Agents course for Module 2, they go into frameworks as Small Agents, which is Hugging Face's agent framework. And it seems really lightweight. There's a few different types of agents in there. They go code first by default. So they're like a Python coding agent to try to answer and figure stuff out. But then there's some other tool using ones. There's a tool using one, and then one other one I forget, at least. And then there's Llama Index is the other one that's part of that course that I see come up a lot. And also then there is a LangGraph, which is the different by the creators of LangChain, that I think is a little lower level than LangChain. And that's the other one I see come up a lot too.
I think it was yesterday. I read a Hacker News post. There, someone mentioned Pandemic AI. When I started 2 months ago, I quickly messed around with LangChain a little bit, and then moved to LangGraph, built a few pipelines. Or I found the LangChain is, as most people complain, is a little bit over-engineered for things very trivia. The part I dislike the most is how over-engineered the prompt. It does not really give you much if you review what it does for you, and introduce a lot of interactions there. Just make you, when you write code, less confident this would work on first try. It always failed, and this input, it's supposed to take this parameter name instead of that, I feel LangGraph is a lot better.
Oh yeah, that does remind me actually. Has anyone played around with the Anthropic's MCP, the Model Context Protocol? I don't think LangGraph and LangChain and the rest of them, I don't think they're gonna. I mean, with something like MCP, I think that does sort of make them a little redundant, doesn't it?
I believe MCP is on the tool side, on the server, how you invoke the tools. If you use a LangChain or LangGraph directly, basically your tool calling will be buried just in your, let's say, a land graph node. This will, if you deploy this in a kind of a relatively large scale application, this will not scale because it couples your AI pipeline with some external API invocation. I think the MCP basically decouples the tool calling from your AI pipeline.
Yeah. So what do you think? So do you think if the MCP continues to grow the way it has been, and if it continues to get the kind of use that it does, do you think tools like LangChain and the rest of them would still be useful?
They are for different things, I think.
Okay.
The log graph is for you to define the pipeline, and some of the abstraction. For example, the one abstraction I found very useful, at least for me personally, is the LLM abstraction. I don't I have a subscription for OpenAI, and for my purpose, they seems to be pretty generous. But I don't have a subscription with Anthropic, and even without attempting to call the Anthropic from my code, just to use it as a consumer, I ran out of token very often. So when I write some task code to play with a land graph, I definitely want to be able to use Olama, which is runs on my own machine for free. And then this level of abstraction is very useful for me. So you write a code and you change one line, and suddenly you basically run the same agent on a different large language model, or you can mix them. But again, my understanding, I could be totally wrong. I'm very new to this. MCP is more of a you define the MP server. You from this on the MP server, you actually interact with the external API. Let's say do web search, query database, and on the client side, they define a standard API. But that API is just for interact with tools.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. So yeah, so I think what the MCP compares with is the tool calling side of LangChain. So, but I just mean generally that if it is then possible to use those sort of defined tools, right? Because it's just exactly like you said. One complaint I hear about LangChain is how it's over-engineered, how it's difficult to use in production, how a lot of the time people tend to say that they just have to just implement a side of it themselves rather than using certain aspect of it. Again, because it being over-engineered. But yeah, I do think that makes sense. But yes, you're right that it doesn't directly compare to all of LangChain, just the tool calling aspect of it. That is and I think it is also possible to use both. But yeah, sure. Thanks for that. Another thing that I wanted to ask as well is if anyone has used Browser Use, the tool that has been oh yeah, so it's this tool that I haven't used it myself, but it's one of the things that I was planning to sort of play around with this weekend. So typically the way the computer use and the operator and all those things we've been seeing, a lot of them use computer vision, right? It keeps taking snapshots of the screen to know where to go and where to click, which obviously requires a lot of computation. But these guys, I think they use a combination of the vision, but they also found a way to structure the HTML of the page. So now we can do that a lot faster than just taking snapshots and much more accurately. I think I read somewhere that they developed it in 4 days and they raised $17 million last week or something. So yeah, that's another cool tool.
I'm looking it up. It looks awesome. Yeah. They got a way to like you're saying, it visually sees it, but then gives a structured input. I think it's kind of what it looks like. And I'll try to remember to share, or I'll share the link in the Slack channel. Yeah, for all the cool tools, if people want to share them, the Slack channel It's a good place to do that, to have, I don't know, slightly more permanence, I guess, and be able to discuss it. Yeah, this looks cool. Oh, the other thing, and I think my crashing is on my end. I guess my internet is weird. It's when I open up the LinkedIn stream to comment on there. So noted. I'm going to move my router for next time too. I don't know if it's something's weird with that. But I was going to say one thing too that I think was briefly talked about, and I think it was part of the reason, or when I crashed, so I didn't hear the whole story, but someone talked to, so there's a comment around like fine tuning for structured outputs or something too. And I know there's some other cool tools in that space that I've been poking around at that look pretty interesting too. There's many, and also you can do like Jinja templating and Python for some of that too. There's a cool one called BAML that's a local company in Seattle. The company's actually called Boundary or Boundary ML, but they have a language called BAML that allows you to define types and stuff for inputs and outputs from your LM. And they have some pretty interesting benchmarking and stuff that they've shared, like being able to get really good results for depending on the task you're trying to do with using smaller models. So if you can actually, one, do good prompt engineering, but then also verify like types coming in and types coming out of your model, you can get really good performance with like smaller models versus a large one, which I thought was pretty cool.
Oh, one thing I read, one resource I found in chapter 5, the prompt engineering one, was the book mentioned a tool called DSPY. I think it's a Python framework. My understanding is it's a framework to build an agent, and you define your agent, and then you can feed it with a prompt, your initial prompt, and I suppose a high quality anticipated answer. And then this framework actually can optimize the prompt by analyze each step of the LLM invocation, and can optimize that. I just find that fantastic. I haven't got a chance to play with it, but I know there is something that does this. It's very interesting.
Yeah, that's what I've seen come up a lot too, and I also haven't played around with it yet. I think I did actually maybe like a year ago a tiny bit, but not anytime recently.
Yeah, someone talked about it on one of our previous calls, where I remember seeing that it was about like the structured as programming or something. Yeah, I always intended to look it up as well. But yeah, thanks for bringing it up again.
And we're at the hour, so we're gonna, I think, wrap up the stream here. Thank you so much for coming up and talking, everyone. It's really fun when more people join the conversation. This was the most we've had in this new format come up and speak, so it was really fun.
Nice. Yeah, looking forward to Agent next month.
Yeah, and a call to action for people is, what should we read next? So again, April next month is AI Agents in Action. I'm really excited for this, and I think it's a little bit more hands-on. Like, I think there's more code and stuff, so I'm kind of excited to run more code.
Oh no. I'm sure he'll be back shortly.
I'm interested in the reinforcement learning in finance. That sounds interesting to me.
Yeah. I voted for that as well. That would be cool. I'm guessing it's more like using sort of like deep reinforcement learning. But yeah, I would. Yeah, that should be cool. Let me look it up. Deep reinforcement learning for finance.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to look into my internet. It did say it was going to be really windy in Seattle today, so I don't know if trees knocked anything down.
We're just talking about the reinforcement learning for finance again. It looks interesting.
Yeah, I will also be interested in reinforcement learning part, because my previous understanding for reinforcement learning was have to train a reward model, but it seems like now more and more companies are using like the DPM kind of like without a reward model. So that is like very interesting. I would like to know a little bit more on that.
Yeah, definitely makes it a lot simpler as well. So I remember the first time I heard like that DeepSeek added an extra training stage and it's using reinforcement learning. I really thought it was going to be, at first I thought it was going to be like pure RL, right? Where you're using, but it wasn't. So it was just like similar to like the other fine tuning methods. It really is just using the model as the reward model itself. So yeah,
Exactly.
it does simplify it a lot. It makes it less intimidating.
Yes.
It was one of the books, because we've wanted to do like a reinforcement learning book, I think, for a while, but a lot of them were really kind of like maybe a little bit older and dense, more textbooky ones. This is one that when I was looking, I think it's newer. It came out like late last year, like late 2024, and it has like some applied use case. So I haven't read it yet, obviously, but it seemed like it might be a good one for covering some reinforcement learning.
Absolutely.
There is a book called Hands-on Deep Reinforcement Learning. It was the third edition. The third edition was published, I think, end of next year. I don't know if the policy of this meetup is to only review like the first edition, only read the first edition, or
No. If there's a third edition that's newer of something, that might be really good. I'll take a look at hands-on reinforcement learning.
deep reinforcement learning.
Deep learn.
The Amazon. I think the Amazon review is pretty good.
Awesome. I'll take a look at that one too. Throw it into the list. There's so many awesome books. So it's hard to only read one a month, but it's also hard to read a book a month. So
Yes.
But awesome. Thank you. I'll add that to the list too. But that, I think we'll wrap up the stream. Thank you, everyone, joining today, especially for everyone who came up and talked. This is awesome to have more people up here. And apologize for me crashing. I'm not sure what that's about. I haven't had that happen before, but I will take a look at it. Like I said, I know there was some weather report today in Seattle, so potentially like a tree fell on something somewhere. Hopefully that's just the case. But yeah, thank you for coming.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, hopefully if you want to come up and talk just like this at the next one, definitely please join in. More people discussing, I think definitely the better. And then also everyone talking in chat, thank you too. I know not everyone wants to come up and join the video call, so I think it's awesome to be able to have the chat interactions as well. And Sige, always thank you for joining. Sige is always here and makes these events way better, I think. So thank you.
Thank you for hosting.
Yeah. I'll see you out the next one. For the next one too, I always say this. I always say, oh, I want to talk more in Slack as I read it. I'm going to try this time. I'm not going to be traveling, I think, as much during reading this book, except for next week. But yeah, I'm going to try to maybe put when I'm building with agents in there. I think it's going to be an exciting topic. So I'll talk to everyone then.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.